This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Kim Andrews of the Good Wax Candle Co. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Lovely to be here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Let's start off right from the top. Other than the obvious, all the candles behind you, what is the Good Wax Candle Co.? Kim, tell us about it.
So my small business, which is based out of Barrie, Ontario, I make candles, home fragrance, and fragrance for the body. I make all of my things in mind of sustainability, eco-friendliness, and also being good for my community.
Beautiful. And so you make them all.
I make everything. Yeah.
And you have your own retail store stocked with all of your stuff.
I do. So I have almost 98 business partners. Not all of them are retailers. Some of them are mortgage brokers, real estate agents, .com businesses, a lot of corporate gifting that I do as well. But in all of that, there's about 65 stores that I sell to.
Oh, so you sell B2B, not B2C at all?
I do. So I have an online website as well. So I do both.
Okay, so a consumer can't just walk right off the street. They would buy offline and pick up. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Okay.
So even though behind me looks like a store, this is my office. This is where I manufacture and make everything. I'm actually right now, I have plans drawn to build my own small manufacturing building. So that will be my next move.
Damn, Kim. Holy moly. And is this all Simcoe County?
So my stores are all over Ontario that I sell to, primarily in Simcoe County, but I do have stores down in the GTA area, Burlington, Oakville, Milton, Waterdown, Hamilton, Exeter, Stratford area. So kind of here, there, and everywhere.
And are you in Simcoe County?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm in Barrie. So
Okay.
I make everything out of my home office in Barrie.
Awesome. I love it. Now, all of this is informative information, but I like to provide a little bit of context because I really just love diving in as much as possible to the human experience. Being a human myself, maybe I can learn a couple of things. But as I was talking about in the pre-show, that coming from that counseling side, that addiction side, it resonates with some people who are in that world, with other people, maybe not. But it really just is like you strip a human down to their kind of raw ingredients and you really find out about what a human is, because you have to come in there if you're going to succeed with no veneers on, with no fallacies, just your raw self. And a lot of that, we find out the story of this human, where they started to where they got to, why they are where they are. And it became such an interesting conversation for me to learn about. And it revealed so much about myself. So we love to ask the guests on the show, what brought you to this place? Like, two questions, really. It's a two-pronged approach. What made you decide one day I'm going to make candles and fragrances and body fragrances? And then opening your own business that's not a obvious pivot from creating. I may just like creating art, putting it on my wall. Saying I'm going to create art and now create a business and monetize it is a huge leap and not an obvious leap. So those are two different decisions combined into one. What brought you to that place, Kim?
So Jeff, thanks for asking me this question because I love sharing my story. I don't always get the opportunity when I'm out meeting customers or out in stores. I like to meet the staff and tell them sort of my why because it's important for me to share that. So I have to go back to 2021 during the beginning of the pandemic, which I know a lot of small businesses had got their start then. I was working in the beauty industry. I had been a retail manager for almost 20 years with a background in makeup artistry and fashion marketing and business. And my job was not in jeopardy, but I had a lot of panic and a lot of anxiety around the pandemic. I do have mental health that runs through my family. And unfortunately, I'd lost a close family member to suicide, and another close family member attempted suicide. And at the same time, I lost my grandmother, who I lived with until I got married. So I was in a very tough place. I was struggling mentally. I developed a heart arrhythmia I developed other health issues, and they were all sort of snowballing. So, being a creative person, I feel the best when I'm able to use my hands. And during the pandemic, as we know, everything was shut down. Nobody was getting married, nobody was needing makeup for headshots. So, I needed something to keep my hands busy. So, I do a lot of other creative things. I love to garden, I love to paint, I love to reupholster furniture, like all other things. And so I thought, I've never tried my hand in candle making. For me, anything I bring in my home has to be clean and sustainable, safe for me, my kids, my pets. Um, and so I thought, I'm just going to create something that's going to be good and safe for us to use. So I started making candles. And not long after, I started gifting them to some of my colleagues, my family members. And I was just taking little bags of candles and dropping them off to my neighbors and texting them or leaving a little note like, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. And soon enough, I had people texting me like, these candles are beautiful. We love them. So and so has a birthday. Can I place an order? And so that was not the intention, Jeff. Like, I had not thought about a business. This was just something that was helping me get through some anxiety and some mental health issues. And it was making me feel fabulous. And so I thought, okay, well, I could try. I could sell them and see where that goes. And again, I really didn't have a huge expectation. So I ended up launching a business with the help of another friend. I'm going to plug her business. Her business is called Remy the Label. She's from Simcoe County. She makes loungewear, and we've been friends since elementary school. And, you know, from afar, I saw she had a very successful online business, and she's like, Kim, I'll help you get a domain. We'll get it all started. Sorry, Jeff, that is my dog. And I launched a website September of 2021. And by December, I had sold nearly $30,000. So it's
Damn.
like, wow, this is amazing. Now I have to step back a minute and just tell you, when I launched my business, it was very important for me that I give back to my community in a mental health way, because candle making, as silly as it may sound to some people, it was just such a creative therapy to make other people feel good about what I was making with my own two hands. So I decided to give a portion of all of my sales to local mental health charities. And it was important for me to give to charities that are child and youth centric, because I'm a mom myself. And so it's important for me to display to my kids that it's important, just as it is to go for a checkup, get your eyes checked, get your ears checked. It's important to have a mental health checkup. And how are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing? And I want it to be as easy to talk about as it is to, you know, go and get your tonsils checked. So I started with New Path Mental Health Services for kids and youth. And I got a lot of positive feedback from neighbors, customers, colleagues. And I just went from there. I thought, okay, I'm gonna rotate the charities, because as much as I want to give to everybody, I can't. So I would ask my customers and the businesses that I started working with if they had charities that were near and dear to their heart. So that's sort of how it got started. And my business will turn 3 this September.
That's why I asked that question, because of that answer. Damn.
Thank you.
First off,
Thank
thank you
you.
for sharing that, especially the hard parts of it. In some strange way, I think because I derive so much value from the harder parts of life, those are my favorite. The gut punches, they just come with life. And a lot of us don't want to talk about it. So I understand that. And I appreciate you sharing that. Mental health is important, as I've talked about many times on this show. This show really is an extension of who I am, what's valuable to me, and mental health is definitely at the top. So let's talk about candles for a second. Education is another big factor on the show, as we want to provide quality education that people can get for free, right? I mean, if the mortgage broker, the real estate agent, whatever it is, hobbies, crafts, things like that. So normally I have some teed up thoughts about this question, myths and misconceptions about the industry, but I'm stumped with candles and what you do. So are there some confusing ideas out there? Or actually, you know what? One common one is cost. When it's mass produced, it's cheaper. When it's locally produced, it's more in cost, but often more valuable. So maybe that's a
Sure.
primary topic.
Yeah.
But any
Well,
myths and misconceptions you could clarify for us?
Sure. So, Jeff, I can kind of tie both of those things up in one little neat package with the bow. So, there's a few misconceptions, and I'm glad that you brought up like the mass produced, like the ones that you would find at certain outlet or retail stores versus something locally made.
Yeah.
So, one thing is the ingredients, right? People want to know, like, I'm paying more money. Why is it more expensive? So for me, going back to the making it eco-friendly and sustainable, I investigated and researched the heck out of all the different waxes that you can use, because we know sort of the more traditional candles are made with paraffin, which we know is a petroleum byproduct, which we also know through research that is not great to be inhaling and burning. It can clog up your HVAC system. People who have asthma, COPD, small animals, it's not great for respiratory. And
And
then,
that's
your
petroleum based.
that's petroleum based. So paraffin is a
Okay.
petroleum based ingredient. So I wanted to use vegetable wax, and there's different vegetable waxes, but the most common is soy. Most people now are very common with the soy candle. You can see them now at the stores in the mall, Amazon, lots of local makers with soy wax. I apologize. People are picking up their online orders in my bin. That's why my dog is barking. Um,
What kind of
so
dog do you have? Just to derail
I
this
have a
conversation
Bernese Retriever. Jeff, is it possible to hit pause for one moment?
and bring him in the
Yes.
show.
No, no, somebody's ringing my doorbell. I think
Okay.
they see me through the window. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nope, they left. It was my supplies. I got some supplies. I order every day, so I just have to say I order supplies for my business every day, and right down on the floor there's like 7 boxes, and they just brought me more, and my UPS FedEx people usually like to bring it in for me. So that's what they were signaling. Can you come in my office? Sorry.
Well, we say it so that all the audience listening, our slogan, real people in real settings having real conversations. So there you go. She's working a business as we're having our live show. There is no more real than that. And that's
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So I apologize. And I could be like a squirrel and get off topic. So I'm going to go back to what we were chatting about. So with the ingredients, it was very important for me to use really clean, sustainable ingredients. And I knew about soy, but I also knew there's a lot of sort of negative things that surround soy too, because soy can be very much genetically modified, over farmed. There's a lot of things around soy, but soy is very, very accessible. Coconut wax is what really drew my attention, because
Okay.
coconut, which is often people mistaken it for palm oil, which are very two different ingredients,
Totally.
but coconut wax is the most sustainable vegetable wax on the planet for candle making. It is the cleanest burning. It is the longest lasting. Trees can live up to 80 to 90 years old, so they're not deforested. They're always non-genetically modified, because the shell of the coconut is so hard that you don't need herbicides and pesticides to be used in the trees and on the plant. So
Okay.
I thought this sounds really, really great. But we live in a climate where we get really hot temperatures to really cold temperatures. And if you've ever bought a container of coconut oil from the grocery store and you leave it on a counter when your house is not air conditioned, it turns into like a soupy mess. So I needed something to harden the coconut wax. So I add soy flakes. I would love to be able to say that my soy is non-GMO, but it is impossible to buy non-GMO soy wax. So there is one misconception that I do see happening with companies claiming that their candles are organic, which it doesn't exist. Organic candles do not exist. So if anyone's listening that has spent way more money, like twice the amount of money to buy an organic candle, I'm going to let you know it just doesn't exist. So just buyer beware.
Coming from the fitness industry for the last 20 years, well, I'll stay on the food side. Most things that say organic aren't as they
Mhm.
are marketed to be. Just like your wax that you're talking about. When they say organic, they're not fully organic. That seems to be the
Exactly.
case with most things. Um,
Exactly.
being a health nut myself, I don't buy organic because I don't think it's worth the price. I look for anti-hormone, grass-fed, free range,
Mhm.
these types of things. They seem to have more bang for their buck than organic. But no, so quality ingredients, number one to your
Quality
product.
ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the waxes that I buy, Jeff, I don't buy anything that has additives, dyes, stabilizers, UV inhibitors, because one thing that people generally don't know is in Canada, actually in North America, there is no law that states candle makers have to put all of that information on the labeling, even though when you're burning it, you're ingesting it. So I strive for 100% transparency. And if anybody ever questions what I put in my products, I gladly tell them from start to finish. Because I'm a user as well. I have kids, I have pets, and I want to make sure it's safe. So, if you go into a store and you're buying a candle that smells great and you want to take it home and the price tag, it's like pretty inexpensive, it's probably filled with a lot of those things. So just buyer beware. But that really is the difference between getting a candle that is made locally. If you live in Barrie, anywhere Simcoe County, or if you're listening outside of that area and you've got a local candle maker, I almost guarantee that candle maker is making a clean candle, cleaner than what you can find at a retail store or on Amazon.
Beautiful. Quickly, because I want to get onto more things. How do you make it smell so good?
So my background in beauty, I worked with fragrance for almost 20 years. And so I feel like, and I don't want to sound like I'm inflating this
Please
at all,
do.
but I
Be
feel like
boastful, Kim.
I feel like I have a good nose. So it's a lot of trial and error. I mean, some days I'm burning so many candles, it looks like I'm resurrecting somebody because I've got so many on the go. But I'm always blending and trying new fragrance. I work with fragrance and essential oils because not every essential oil is fit to be used in a candle. With flash points, it's all like a big science project. But there's some essential oils that are perfect for a candle and some that just, they smell like gasoline when you burn them. So I do mix them with fine fragrances that are always free of VOCs, phthalates, and parabens. They're Prop 65 certified. And I also listen to my customers. I want to give people what they want. So if I'm out at a market or if I'm in a store and somebody says, do you make this scent? And if I say, no, but is that something that you've had trouble finding or you're looking for? So I've had quite a few scents. I mean, I sell almost 50 different scents, from candles to reeds to fragrance, but I really love getting input from my customers because it might not be something that I would think about. And I've got some scents that customers had come to me with years ago that are now some of my best sellers. So thank you to them.
Can I just say that I have never met you before this, but it really, I don't know if you're high energy outside of your business, but your energy, your passion for what you're talking about, it's just exuding through the show. And it seems
Thanks, Jeff.
really
I
enjoy
am a
what you
high
do.
energy person. Yes.
No, it's awesome to
Yeah.
see when people are passionate. This is why I got into the world of entrepreneurship. Not to say that all business is good business. It's not the case. Or all entrepreneurs love what they do. It's not the case. But there are many out there that they have taken something that they have loved and they have found a way to serve others with it, which for me is a business. I mean, essentially you're solving problems for a price. And if you love that problem that you solve, it can be a fantastic life to live. Let's pivot a little bit here, Kim.
Okay.
Let's talk about you outside of your business. What do you do for fun? And you can't say work or make candles.
I know. So Jeff, I'm going to tell you my life right now. I really try hard to carve out that time for me and my kids. I mean, anyone listening who is sort of, this is resonating with, but my business, I have to say, I probably dedicate 14 hours a day to. It's right now I'm very busy and it's a good problem to have, but in my spare time, we do have a trailer. So we do like to go camping. I have a paddle board. So, sorry?
Where do you go?
So we take little short jogs because sometimes I can't be too far from home, but we really enjoy McCrae Point, which is just on Lake Simcoe near Brecon. So we go there. We just went to 6 Mile Lake because we've got a big Bernese retriever and they have an off-leash dog beach. I love rollerblading. I probably go out every morning for a rollerblade. I'm like the single last rollerblader in Barrie, I think. So if you ever see me
You go
in your
down by the
neighborhood,
water?
give me a wave. No, that's too crazy down there for me. It's too busy. And this is going to sound even crazier. I go on the roads in the Northeast End, but I'm early, so I'm out before anyone in their car is out. So yeah, I really like to get outside. Sometimes we hit the trails. I swim, but I'm a summer girl, so I like all the summer activities.
Are you tan like this? I mean, just looking at me and then looking at you. Yeah. Are you tan like this all year round? Is this the way your
Oh
skin?
no, I have
This
a
is a summer
pool,
tan.
so
Yeah.
this is my summertime. Yeah.
So what I want to know, because you like nature, clearly you like being out there, but rollerblading, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, okay, that could be a half an hour, that could be an hour. What is she doing while she's rollerblading? This is always something I want to know. I like going to the gym often. I like doing my walks, love fitness, love these things. And this question comes up to me a lot. Like, if you go on a walk for an hour, what are you doing? Are you just thinking? Some people are like, you can't just be just thinking because of how stimulated we are these days. But what are you doing while you're rollerblading?
You know, Jeff, you are the only person that's ever asked me this question. And I love this question. So I spend so much time checking my phone and being in my emails because I'm working with so many customers and then my online orders that when I'm out, I don't listen to anything. So when I'm rollerblading, it's just me and outside. And I just kind of let my mind go wherever it wants to go. If it's thinking about what I'm making for dinner, or if it's just kind of looking at all the landscaping and all the neighbors' yards, or if I'm thinking about, what's my week looking like, I just kind of let it do what it's going to do. But I don't I don't wear earbuds. I don't like to have them in my ears at any time. I actually like the silence quite a bit because I can listen to my own thoughts and I can organize because my brain it's never stopping. It's never quiet. So I just kind of like to let it flush out and do its thing when I'm exercising.
So just stream of consciousness. You're just letting your body and mind do what it does.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I asked that. Meditation and spirituality are very important to me. And when you constantly have something in your ears or you're constantly watching something, you're
Mm-hmm.
blocking that stream of consciousness. And although that stream of consciousness can be painful, boring, or there can be some darkness in there, those internal roommate that I have up there, I think a lot of value is found. And I think we can really find who we are through just listening. So I'm always
I
curious
agree.
if people are doing something for a long time in this day and age of being constantly connected. Is there anybody else out there that is just still letting their mind do what it does? I'm happy to hear that you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. How many kids?
2. One starting grade 9 this September. Yeah. And my youngest is going into grade 6.
And then the Bernese Retriever.
Yeah. So it's a she, Molly. She's 4, so she's my third child. And no, she's great. She's great. She's made me a more outdoor person for the winter because I do not like the cold. So, being out with her every single day, I have now more of an appreciation for our winter. I'll say that.
And there's no way we could get a little quick clip of her.
Oh, she's sleeping.
We'll
You
let her
know
sleep.
what, Jeff? If I brought her down here, we'd never get rid of her.
That's the one fear, but we love seeing the pets on the show. Okay, still about you. And you already gave us some kind of hard-hitting truths of life that you've already shared with us when you were talking about your story, which I greatly appreciate you doing that. Vulnerability. I say character leaves clues, and I think vulnerability is a character trait of a very strong individual. But this question, we talk about doing hard things on the show, hardships, trials, tribulations, adversity, just by being human. We all face it. How do we view adversity? Is it a problem? Is it something to complain about? Is it a burden? Maybe is it an opportunity? This question is super important for me because I feel like the greatest things in life are the hardest earned. Great love life is not going to be easy. Wealth, great business, fitness, all of these long-term things built on deferred gratification, I believe, kind of upfront pain for long-term gain rather than upfront pleasure for long-term pain in that instant gratification world. I believe the hardest things in life provide the most value. The example I like to give is if I keep getting 100% on that same test over and over and over again, my brain, designed for energy conservation, is probably going to say, just keep doing what you're doing. No need to change. Don't change anything. We don't want to change. Change is difficult. Let's conserve and chill, basically. But if I keep getting 50% on that test, that's painful. I may feel bad about myself, but I now have the opportunity to go and learn something, go talk to somebody, go reach out for some help, and bump up the value in me by getting better on that test, metaphorically speaking, or literally. So I look at obstacles as kind of the way. There's literally a book called The Obstacle is the Way. It's right behind me. It's phenomenal. It's the philosophy that my life's rooted in. So we love to ask the guests on the show, Are there any hardships that you've been through personally or business, whatever you're willing to talk about, that probably sucked in the moment, as hard as a symptom that comes with it, and it doesn't feel very good? But when you look back on it in hindsight, there's no way you would remove that ingredient from the recipe that has become you, because it's led you to living the life you live today.
Yeah, that was great, Jeff. First of all, like, thank you for sharing all of that because that was awesome. So I'm going to talk about two different things. So one, I'm going to go back to when I did start my business and having to go through, I don't wish this upon anybody, but having to go through the loss of a family member through suicide. I will share, this was my dad's twin brother. So it was like losing a second dad. They were identical in every way, shape, or form. And it was very sudden. And it was just, I didn't realize how things can manifest in your body through a loss like that. You know, I was kind of making excuses for all these things that were happening, and I wasn't really connecting the dots. And my dad was the one who attempted suicide. And that was so difficult. I can't even put it into words. And I just didn't know where to go. I just felt like it was just a downward spiral. And having to, I mean, it's a journey. Having to go through those motions and those feelings with my family, with my children, with, you know, I was a manager. So I felt like I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to think that how I was feeling, I didn't want to show any weakness. I know this might sound crazy, but working in a retail environment with staff that relies on you, with what I was going through, once I was able to really open up and just let the layers peel off and allow the love and support from others and the healing process, it was incredible. I felt like I shed my skin like a snake. And then moving into my business, I think it really gave me a lot of perspective. You know, life is short. What am I doing? My heart always told me that this wasn't it for me as far as a job goes, a career goes. And I think had that experience not happened, I would not have tried my hand at having my own business. So that's one part of it. The other part is once you have a business, and if you mess up and if it is costly as far as customers or financially, if something doesn't go well, it's easy to pull the plug and say, I'm out. Like, I'm just going to go back to what I know. I know I'm going to go back to a paycheck that I can rely on week to week, that I know that's coming in and going out. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to quit, but I have had speed bumps, roadblocks. You know, when you're building something with your two hands, like I do, and you're also having to buy supplies and figure out the cost and the quality and everything, you're going to come up with issues, which have happened. And I've had amazing support from my customers, my retail partners, my family, my friends. And so, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I absolutely believe in that. And I think that all of these things in my pot mixed together have sort of brought me to where I am and who I am today.
Fantastic. I first off, thank you for sharing that story. But there is no but. Just thank you for sharing that story. That is a tough one. And
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
people have been through similar things. So just by sharing it makes people feel not alone. I was going to read you a little excerpt from we go through adversity all the time, just in business, just my team, people at the treatment center. But I think people get the point. I think there is so much value through adversity. One of the excerpts that I was going to read you is there's this, rather than reading it word for word, is this boreal forest that requires fire for these trees to drop seeds, that the sun's heat alone will not produce this seed to drop. So without the fire, without that brutal adversity that can wreck some of those trees, some of the weaker ones will fall, that forest wouldn't exist. And I look at that as for humans as well. Could you imagine our life if everything was perfect? How boring
Not
it would
really.
be.
Yeah.
you know?
I
So
don't think it would really give me that push, you know, like I needed that push. I needed sort of something to come out from under my feet to give me that push to do something different, to make the next step, to take the chance, to take the risk. And yeah, as terrible and as life changing, you know, in the negative way, it also has brought me so much positive too.
well, that's what I was about
So
to ask you. As crazy as it may seem, I don't know the answer to this, only you do. And I would not wish that upon anybody. But do you think you're a better version of yourself because of your
100%. Like yes, absolutely. I think that I have a better sense of self. Um, I think that I'm more patient. I think that I think more broadly as far as not, is this affecting me? Is it affecting my community? Is it affecting, you know, just on a larger ripple effect? Um, I care very deeply for my community. And I feel that the connectiveness that I have now is so much greater than it was 3 years ago.
It's amazing. It's amazing the capacity for humans when they're put through the shit.
Mhm.
Can I ask you one last thing? I have all my rules for my life tattooed on my arm, reminders of
Nice.
who I want to be.
Sweet.
And the first
Sweet.
handful are about death and the amount of time we have in the day to remind myself of the fragility of my life.
Mhm.
Has your perspective on our mortality changed at all through that experience? Like how long you're
Oh,
going to be here?
I think in a sense, Jeff, it's made me really feel more gratitude day to day. Um, to really just, you know, why not? You never know what tomorrow brings. So just do the best and do the things that make you happy. So this is an interesting segue. I don't know if it's quite connected, but a couple years ago when I started my business, there's a beautiful property that I had the opportunity to be on. It was for an event, and there was a barn on the property, and inside the barn there was this quote, and it says, "I only say yes when it's a hell yes." And at that time, when you're a new business owner, you say yes to everything,
Yeah.
regardless. You're like, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll be there. You want me to do this? Do this. Yes, yes, yes. And I quickly, by Christmas time, was so burnt out. And I'm like, this is not why I started this. This is not where I want this to go. And so having the experiences and having the loss in my family and things that have happened um, in the last 3 5 years, now I'm very mindful of those things that I say yes to, because I feel like my time and my life is precious and important to me. So hopefully that all makes sense, but um, I only say yes to those things that really fill my heart and I feel passionate about. Mhm. So yes, it has.
Yeah.
I
I love it.
have sort of thought more about our time on earth and what I want to do with it and how much time I have. And so I just feel so much gratitude every day for where I am and what I have.
That's just amazing to hear. I think a lot of us think we're just going to be here forever because, I mean, they say the past is a good indicator of the future. And I think to a degree it is, but clearly it's not because, you know, in all cases, when you're young, you think you'll be here forever because you've never experienced death in your own life before. And you only experience it one time.
Mhm.
So it's like that story of the turkey. The turkey keeps getting fed every day, has a great relationship with the owner. And then one day there's Thanksgiving and no more turkey. So certainly being on the addiction side of things, I broke both my legs a little over 10 years ago, was on painkillers, and that kind of wrapped my life up into chaos. And it's these really hard hitting moments of your life that uh, present the opportunity to be like, maybe I won't be here forever. Maybe I should do that thing. Maybe I should apologize to that person or call that person or write that letter, whatever it is. And I just love to see the perspective of other people, as our stories are all different, but so similar in so many ways.
Mhm. So
Back
true.
to your business a little bit before I start tearing up. Kim, it wouldn't be
Yeah,
the first
Jeff, I
time.
didn't expect us to go this deep. This is great. This is
Oh
like,
yeah.
I love it, but it was not expected.
We go deep, Kim. We go deep. You're speaking directly to your audience right now. You got 100 of them in a room. You got 1 minute to tell them the thing you want to tell them. All people that could benefit from your product, you're on stage, you have 1 minute. What do you want to tell them?
Okay. Well, there's a few things. This wasn't the thing I was going to talk about, but we didn't really discuss it. So the 3% of my sales, regardless if it's going to a wholesale store, whether it's at a live market, whether it's online, I give to all different charities in Simcoe County. But so
Amazing.
far, since the beginning of my business, I've donated just over $21,000, which feels absolutely amazing. This year, I've decided for the whole year to designate funds to Season Center for Grieving Children, which is, I just want to shine a light on this charity. There's so many wonderful charities. You can find them all on my website. But Season Center is a charity that helps children through the grieving process of losing an immediate family member. It is volunteer run, and they have wonderful programs. They gave me a tour of the facility when I decided that that was the charity for this year. So I want people to know that that is just as important to me, that the money and the charity portion of it is just as important to me as making the candles and selling them. And I love men, but I love working with other women-owned businesses. 80% of my business is wholesale and custom. And so I work with a lot of women-owned businesses that want to pair up to do custom candles, custom fragrance, oil blends for their spas and salons. So I just love being able to lift up another female entrepreneur and showcase their lovely wares, store, space, whatever it is that they're doing.
That's great. That's great. A little over 1 minute there, Kim. But we won't penalize you.
Sorry.
Let me
I
ask
talk
you,
a lot.
have you heard of Our Homes? Our
I
house
have.
in Barrie?
So are you talking about the magazine or the store?
No, the store. Our House.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, I have.
Is your stuff in there?
It is not.
Interesting.
Maybe they're listening.
Well, they are a client of ours, so we will. Anyway, this is my secret question. I don't put it on the questionnaire because people used to write out their answers to the show. Like in the first 50, everybody had their answers scripted, and I don't know. I guess I started not liking that so much, and people stopped doing it.
I
I'm not
like
sure.
that, Jeff. So I don't write. I just like to go rogue. I
That's
just
it.
like to speak however I'm feeling. So hopefully it's good.
Speak from the heart. That's what we're talking about. So this question is about like impact specifically, but kind of rooted in purpose. I've been very lucky and very grateful to have so many fantastic mentors in my life. Some of them know who I am and are working with me personally. Some have been dead for 2,000 years. Just great people that I try to follow and become an amalgamation of these people who have been to stages I haven't been to yet and were great enough to record their journey for me to read or consume or et cetera, et cetera. And this one mentor in particular, she's been in my life since I was in my early 20s. And one of the first and most hardest hitting things she wanted to tackle with me was impact, purpose, basically those two things. And she asked me to consider, she's like, have you reflected or considered about on your impact up to this point? You're 22. No, the answer was the case. I just wanted girls, cars, sports, etc. Superficial needs. She said, well, I encourage you to consider your impact up to this point and be very intentional about your impact for the day, because you may not be here tomorrow, but for however long you are here, what do you want your impact to be? Essentially, you're born, you die. What's the middle equate to? Net positive, net negative made no difference. And I certainly have that driving me. That's my compass now. Some people talk about legacy. What do I want to be here after me? I don't care so much about that because I'll be gone. But hopefully I can benefit and see the benefits of my impact today, which will also be here when I'm gone. So it's not about this grand finale, my final moments. It's like do the good things here now and see the impact, the ripple effect, which I think goes way beyond our line of sight. Even just putting a smile on one person's face could affect, I don't know, thousands of people in a single day. We don't know. But I consider my impact greatly, and it has changed my life. So I love to ask the guests on the show, Kim, what would you like your impact to be?
Yeah. So, Jeff, I thought you were going to ask me, who my mentor is, because I don't think I can talk about impact without talking about who my biggest influence is. So, and if I
Sure.
get emotional, um, I was very fortunate to be raised in a multi-generational household with my mother, my sister, and my grandmother. So it was all female run household. And I lost my grandmother a month before they declared the pandemic. And she was so inspiring to me. My grandmother volunteered until the day she died. And she was just a fantastic woman who gave everything she had. She didn't have a lot, but she would give you the shirt off her back. If you needed a hot meal, she would make you things and drop them off. Like, I mean, she used to bake for her mechanic and just drop it over to him when she'd get her oil changed. Like, she was just a fantastic woman. So to be able to have that type of amazing role model to be around, just really made me want to do the same and be a great person and love with all of my heart, and no judgment, and do good things for my community and my family and my neighborhood. And so, like, Jeff, all the things that you were saying really resonated with me, because it's so important for me to just live by those same rules. And if I've left this earth a better place and better community, and left a positive impact on even just a handful of people, then my job's done. But I really feel at my age, in my 40s, that service to others is so important to me.
Beautiful sentiment. Big thank you to Grams there.
Yeah, she's the
She
best.
did some good work in you. Well said, Kim. It's a beautiful statement. How can
Thank
people
you.
find out about you? What's the best way to connect?
All right, so I'm on all the socials, so they can find me at _ The Good Wax on Instagram and The Good Wax Candle Co. on Facebook. And then my website is thegoodwaxcandleco.com.
Beautiful. I love it. This has been I've said it now 4 times, so I'm going to just keep repeating. This has been a beautiful conversation. It really has, Kim. Sometimes you just knock it out of the park with somebody, right? I mean, every conversation's good and provides value to the audience, but I look selfishly for me, which ones do I enjoy the most? And it's the ones that people are willing to go into the depths of our experience together. And you certainly hung with me on that one, and it just felt great. It was great talking to you, Kim. It really was.
Jeff, it was so good talking to you. I have to say, you just made the conversation so comfortable. And we've never met. So if people are listening, I've never met Jeff. This is the first time we've met and spoken to each other, but I really, really enjoyed our conversation. I'm so thankful that you've had me on the show.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate it. Kind words. And it was great. Until we meet again, you have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday afternoon.
You too. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.